Today, I'm going to be showing you how to make a progressive house track like Martin Garrix, and in the end, it's going to sound like this. What's up, you guys? My name is Jacoby Jones. I'm a DJ producer hoping to spread some good vibes with my music and my content. If you like what I happen to give out today, make sure to hit the subscribe button. I've got production content and marketing content hoping to help you improve. And if you don't like what I give today, let me know in the comments why so I can try to improve for you soon and make sure that I can help you in the best way possible. But I don't want to waste any more of your time. Let's get in the DAW and let's see how we make this track. Alright, so we are now in the project right now. As you can see, I don't have a verse right now, but I have the hands up moment of a Martin Garrix progressive house song, as well as a build up and the drop. The build up's really simple. I really focused more on, getting all the sounds right. The build up I made in like 5 seconds, so it's going to be really simple. But the drop and the hands up moment are pretty decent. I think I sound pretty accurate. So really quick, let's just give a quick listen to the full thing so we have an idea of what we're getting into. Alright, so yeah, that's the project file. Pretty simple. Let's first just go over it step by step. We're going to start out with leads. We'll go into chords and the bass and then the samples. So let's start out with the leads. Pretty much we have about 5 layers going on here, and they sound like this. So we have 5 layers going on here. Some are for wide and some are for mono. So this is the first layer. That is what I would call the main layer. This is what we want the lead to sound like. And so if I scroll up, you can see that out of all the layers, this is the loudest one. And the reason for that is because it has the timbre of a lead that we want. And this is Silent One Music Core Lead Destiny. So I encourage you to have one layer that sort of is the main sound that you're going for, and other layers to accomplish certain things you're trying to get in the layering process, such as power, width, or more stereo. So this lead is called Angel 1. It's from Nexus Factory presets, I believe. It sounds like this. So the reason we have this lead is to make it the whole lead a little wider, and to help, make it a little bit more higher in the octave, so the melody is a little bit higher. We also have this lead, Magnetron from Nexus, which is doing pretty much the same thing. This is just to give it that full Martin Garrix sound that everyone loves. Sounds like this. Now, it sounds like those 3 leads accomplish the sound that we're going for on its own, but I have 2 more layers accomplishing certain goals that I have. The first one being power. You need your lead to punch through the mix. So I have this Magic Lead 1. I believe this is from the Cashmere pack. Yep, Cashmere Nexus. Magic Lead 1, and it sounds like this. It's a very mono sound. Now, the reason I have this is to help the mono channel punch through the mix. That way, the lead is very powerful and stands out. I have this layer, Ultrasonic Lead Mad, which is from his EDM Essentials pack. Sounds like this. It's doing a similar thing. Together, these create a very powerful sound on their own. I really liked how that sounded. So altogether, the lead sounds like this. But if I take away those mono layers, it sounds like this. Doesn't change the sound very much, but it does make it much more powerful. So first, let's go over the processing. Without all the processing, the lead sounds like this. So a little funny. First thing we have is an EQ cutting out the lows and the highs. I don't know why that boost is there, doesn't need it. Highs for the noise, lows for the bass. I have OTT, which is bringing all the layers together. Got it about 30% depth and 63% downward compression. So OTT is on here to help make all the layers sound like one cohesive unit instead of a bunch of layers on top of each other. Multiband compression can bring things together. I have saturation, which is a little under 20%. Oh, it is 20%. Tape saturation really helps make things warmer. I've got some delay. This is ping pong delay by its Logic stock plugin, stereo delay. I've got 19 and 23 to make it a little offset. I have reverb, which normally I would sidechain, but for Martin Garrix sound, which is much more reverbed, I wanted to create a much bigger sound. So I have it about 20%, 27% mix with a 2-second delay. Decay, sorry. And then I've got kickstart for later in the track. Right now you can see it's at 0. And then I've got Ozone 9 Imager here, which is essentially making sure that everything has its place. So everything below like 300 Hertz is very mono. I set that to be very centralized. That way, everything in that area can come through the center of the mix. I did the same thing with around 500 to 1000 Hertz. But as we go beyond 1000 Hertz, the higher frequencies can be a little wider. And this is how you can make a powerful but wide lead. Make sure the lower frequencies are more mono so it punches through the mix, and then the upper mids and highs are a little wider. That way you can actually have width in your sound and it actually sounds full. So those are the leads. Now, oh, also I'll show you the MIDI really quick in case you want to see that. Moving on to the chords. The chords sound like this right now. So we've got 4 layers here. This is really simple. There's really not much to this, guys. I got an EDM drop piano from Nexus. If you don't have Nexus, you could just take your standard piano, crank the velocity up, and compress the crap out of it. That's really going to help you get that big compressed EDM piano. I've got MusicCore Chord Hangover, which sounds like this. Just your basic detuned saw, nothing special. This is Detente, which is also a detuned saw, but it was meant to add a little bit of upper harmonics. So that way, that's why it's an octave higher. Then I've got this one right here, which are strings from Labs, obviously, long strings, and just help make it a little bit more natural. So as for the processing, I've got EQ to cut out the lows and highs. I've got OTT doing the same, almost the same exact thing as the leads, just a little bit more on there because we want the chords to be a little bit more compressed so they don't stand out as much. I've got saturation at 30%. I've got EQ dipping this area, and the reason I did that is called frequency masking. I dipped this area to make room for the mid bass, which is supposed to take up that spot. I want those frequencies to be available for the mid bass, so I didn't want them overtaking with the chords. And then I've got an imager making these much wider. That way they can wrap around the lead and make sure that they are supportive element, which is what chords are supposed to be. They're not supposed to stand out or make it full, they're just supposed to support the leads. So, looking at the bass, we have a very powerful gritty bass going on here. This is the mid bass, by the way. It sounds like this. Now the main sound is coming from this bass right here called electric guitar, which is originally a Silent One preset from MusicCore, which sounds like this. But I added a phaser on it to give it a little bit of a razzle-dazzle. Just to help it give it a little color, you know? It's just something creative you could try. Phase things. EQ, lows and highs, same deal. I've got some reverb on that. I'm not really sure why I did that. As you can see, it's not much, but we got it anyway. Another EQ, which cut out the lows and boost these frequencies to help bring out some power in the bass. Then we got saturation. And that's just one of the bass layers. The other bass layers are this bass right here. I've got this one called Grit. It's kind of an acidy bass. All of these have EQ, cutting out the lows, and some saturation. That's just a standard bass, nothing special. And then on all of these, I've got some OTT. No downward compression on this one, just 21%. EQ cutting out the lows, but boosting the low mid. Or cutting out the sub, not the lows. I've got an ozone imager, making these more mono because your bass should be in mono. And then kickstart for later on in the drop. Then I've got a sub. This is just a best sub ever from Julian Jordan's Serum Pack. I use it all the time. I recommend it highly. And some kickstart for later on. Sounds like this. The reason I cut out everything above 100 is because sub frequencies range from 40 to 100 hertz. Anything above or below that is not necessarily sub. You're not going to feel it when you play it through a speaker. That's in case you don't work with speakers, that's a way you can know. So I cut out everything above 100, and with the bass, the mid bass, I cut out everything below 100. That's how you create a balanced bass with mid and sub. And all together, the leads and everything sound like this. Additionally, I have some downlifters, pretty basic stuff. Nothing special there, just a simple downlifter. That one's sidechained. That one's not, it's like a crash. I've also got some ambiance drones going on here. You can find these anywhere, go on Splice and search drone. Just make sure it's in the same key, that's really all you need to do. These all happen to be from Musicore, I like that pack a lot. I cut out all the lows and mids, and low mids, and made sure a lot of the highs are cut out because you want this area to be for the upper chords, leads, and effects. You don't need that much there. Also make sure these are really wide. As you can see, I widened the bejesus out of this because this is just ambiance, it's supportive. You want it to go around everything. So when you combine that with everything, you have a break that sounds like this. So the build-up is just everything with some downlifters and uplifters. I don't really think I need to go into that too much because I didn't spend much time on it. I just did it for the sake of the tutorial. One thing I can mention is that I have a drone playing the first bass note of the chords, which sounds like this. And then I have that automating down because you don't want bass in your build-up right before the drop. You can have it in the beginning, but if you have it right before the drop, it's going to make the bass of the drop feel less powerful. So as you can see, if I go to my, what is it? Well, actually, it's right there. The bass is going down. So essentially, I've got the chords and leads filtering in. Nothing special. We've already seen those. And then I also added some more reverb to the leads just to help it push back in the mix. We bring it back down to normal in the drop. Simple build-up drums and some effects. The effects are not that special. So one thing I do have going on here though that I should mention is the volume of the track. This is stereo output. This is where everything is in the track is routed to. I have that volume going down, 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 down. That way when the drop hits, we can bring it back to normal. This is an arrangement trick to let them know, oh, the drop is coming, it's decreasing. But they don't necessarily notice that huge volume change. And so when we bring it back to normal, it feels like the drop is so much louder, but we can even put that up a little. It feels like the drop is so much louder, but it's not clipping because we've convinced them that the drop is louder than everything else by lowering this volume. Additionally, I've got Endless Smile for the build-up. Pretty simple stuff. And then we go into the drop, which sounds like this. So everything here is the same. It's the same exact processing. The only difference is sidechain, which sounds like this. Everything is sidechain. That's the only difference. If I look at kickstart, now you can see it's at 65 for the chords. If I go to the bass, you can see it's at 77. Mid bass is at 77, but sub bass is at 100 because you want that to get out of the way of the kick bass. And then you got lead, which is at 67. So for the drums, I have the kick, which is pretty simple. Sounds like this. I have a ride, few rides, claps. Altogether that sounds like this. I've also got this little snare effects here and there. And if you want, you could put a fill there to help make it a little bit more creative. Now, all these drums I have routed to bus 8, where I have very aggressive compression settings. This is called parallel compression, and as you can see, I have that going about 10% to that parallel compression route. And this is going to help bring out some of the drum frequencies we may not have heard before and help compress them and make them feel like one cohesive unit. Also on the drum bus, I have some tape saturation to help make it feel a little warmer and full. I also have 2 downlifters that are in the drop, sound like this. Same ones as before, I'm pretty sure. And then I've got some crowd noise. And all together, it sounds like this. And that's basically it for this week's video, guys. We just went over how to make progressive house like Martin Garrix. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to consider subscribing so I can keep delivering for you every week on production and marketing help. Also, be sure to follow my Instagram @JacobyJonesMusic for a more personal look into my life as a producer and to join a family of people looking to experience good vibes with great music. My name's Jacoby Jones, and I'll see you next time.